Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lessons and Blessings. I'm Sarah Como of Spiritual Tides, and
I am Amber Path of Amber and Amethyst.
And we are here to talk to you about how to communicate with spirit, your spirit loved ones in particular. So there's a lot of really cool things to talk about, a lot of interesting ways to go about this. And today, and there's more than just your spirit loved ones that you're able to talk to, including archangels, other angels, your spirit guides, spirit animals. But today we're going to talk about your spirit loved ones. So, the pets that you've had in your life that have passed, your family members, your friends. That's who we're going to talk about today. And we want to just illuminate the situation to let you know how we're able to hear from them, but we also want to teach you how you're able to do the same. All right, so first of all, how do you know that your spirit loved ones are talking to you? That is really, it's one of the hardest things to talk about to figure out, because you want to believe that you're hearing from your spirit loved ones, but you don't, you also doubt yourself. I mean, Amber, we doubt ourselves all the time, right?
Yeah, you said the imposter syndrome to me before, and I'm like, that's exactly what I feel like. Like, I don't know if I'm actually able to talk to these people or not, and I really need the confirmation from, clients I'm reading, or just, knowing the person personally that I'm talking to. It's definitely the thing that I've struggled with most with my abilities is the spirit communication aspect of things and doing readings for people. I'm so shy about it yet in my business, and I struggle with it. Like, every time somebody books a reading, I'm like, okay, I get really nervous, and I'm like, I have to ace this. Like, I can do everything and I'm very good at it, but like the spirit communication thing still makes me nervous because it is so difficult to verify, I guess.
It is.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to trust yourself and trust your gut instinct, and know that what you're hearing, feeling, seeing is actually real. It sounds silly, but here's the thing: we limit ourselves by our physical bodies. We think that if we can't see it, like with our two eyes, if we can't hear it with our own ears or feel it, physically, then it doesn't exist. But that's not how the spirit world works. It's a lot of faith. It's a lot of, just trusting your gut. And that's what this is about. How do you know that spirit's talking to you? We'll talk about like how we feel it. Like right now, I get goosebumps throughout my body to let me know that spirit is around. I've learned that depending on where in my body the goosebumps are, the level of spirit that I'm talking to. So the lower it is on my body, the lower the spirit, which is actually really interesting. I also, when I channel, I sit and I concentrate. I first of all protect myself, and we've talked about that before. But I protect myself. I envision who I'm speaking with, and I ask for spirit to come through to me to give me points of validation. So that means that they're going to tell me something that you don't know, or excuse me, you only know, and I don't. I'm not going to give you general messages like your father loves you and misses you. Yes, that while they might say that, it's
obviously
right. Obviously, while they may say that, that's not enough. And I dictate that. I want spirit to tell me more so that you feel that connection, you feel that resonance, that your loved ones are coming through. So they're going to tell me a memory that you shared. They're going to tell me something that you might have done yesterday in the car, like sang a particular song that nobody heard, nobody was around, you didn't tell anybody because it didn't matter. So they're going to tell me those little things. They're going to tell me what they look like. So I see that in my head. I hear it in my thoughts. That's how I'm able to communicate with spirit. And that's when my loved ones come in. I will get a feeling of, let's see, my grandpa comes in a lot, so I'll think of him randomly. So then I know, okay, that's him. And sometimes he'll ring my ears, when you go deaf and then you hear a ringing, that's spirit trying to talk to you. So there's a lot of different ways. Amber, tell us how you are able to communicate with spirit.
So right away, I kind of set my own language that I wanted them to communicate with me. I asked that all spirits on the other side of loved ones of people who have passed come to me on my left side, and any of my spirit guides talk to me on my right side, or spirit guides of the person that I'm doing the reading for. That way I can differentiate more or less who I'm talking to and kind of narrow it down. So, I mean, that's only like a 50-50%. But I even gave my own signs, like, you know, I want grandparents to lay their hand across my shoulders, because initially that's how my grandfather talked to me. And I said, that's actually a great way for me to actually physically feel, because a lot of times they like to physically interact with me. And so I say, grandparents, I need you to, you know, lay your arm across my shoulder, like, you know, a grandparent hugging action. And that will tell me that it's, you know, your grandparent who had passed away. I know a little bit of sign language, so I asked, you know, like, can you brush like my forehead if you're a male? Can you brush my cheek if you're a female? Just these little signs to physically interact with me, because that's how spirits initially did it. So I tried to take what I knew and was familiar for me, and easy actions for them to complete. So that's how I kind of start my readings, is by getting these feelings. And I say, this is how I would like you to communicate with me if you're able. And once we get really into it, I mean, I can start, you know, the clairvoyance thing comes in where I can get some visions. But, you know, there can be that two-way communication of, please communicate with me this way so I can interpret it easier. So it's not all just them giving you messages and you have to decipher everything. Like, you can say, here's my, you know, script or bullet points or whatever. Please follow these rules, and it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. And that just goes to show you that everyone receives messages differently.
Exactly.
And it just depends on what you want, you know, how you want spirit to talk to you, and also just your God-given abilities. You know, honestly, I thought that seeing spirit meant that I was going to see them with my two eyes. And while some people can, like my husband, he can actually see it with his two eyes.
Yeah, my sister can too.
Yeah.
It scares me.
It scares me. Yeah. So spirit knows that I will freak out. I'll get spooked if I just see a random guy standing right here when I'm trying to talk to somebody. So they know that. And so they're going to make sure that I can hear and see comfortably at my own pace, at my own discretion. And so that it's really interesting that we can all just be different. So don't take what we're saying so literally that that it's disappointing that you can't do the same thing as us, because we're all different. And you can always work at it, because I know that I've talked to my spirit guides before, and I want to be able to see spirit eventually. I want to be able to be comfortable enough to see them like I'm looking at this camera in front of me, and looking at Amber's beautiful face. I want to be able to see them like I'm looking at them. So eventually I'll work up to that, but I'm harnessing my skills. I'm working at it, and it'll come eventually. So when we hear from spirit, our loved ones, there's signs and symbols and just little things to let us know that they're around. And that can mean anything. Like, if you shared a love for butterflies with your grandfather, or you planted yellow roses every year with your mother, things like that. Like, they're going to show you those things. They're going to make you look. They're going to divert your attention to things while you're outside, out and about, even in your home. They're going to turn on a television. Well, they're not going to turn on the television. They may, but while you're watching TV, a commercial might come on that catches your attention. I was actually talking with a client one time where she had left the room, and the TV was on, and the commercial popped up, and it was super loud, like super loud. She did not turn the TV on that loud, and it caught her attention, and it was actually a very meaningful message that she needed to hear. So sometimes, spirit can do a lot of things just to let you know that they're around, and that they have messages for you. Amber, any experience in that for you?
Actually, my grandmother passed away last year, 2 years ago. And this was when I was finally starting to be able to get into the spirit communication stuff. And we were staying in a hotel in Green Bay, because she lived in Green Bay. That's where the funeral was. And I remember laying on the hotel bed, and all of a sudden I started getting these messages, and I started seeing little bluebirds flying around, and so much of everything looked blue to me. And I got the number 3, and I got all of these messages from her. And I went over to the next room, and I told my parents about it. And at that point, my dad started seeing things too. So she wasn't just starting to give me the messages, she was actually giving them to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's like, when you walked in, this whole room turned like a turquoise color. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, funny, you should say that. Because I've just been getting messages from grandma, and she says, whenever you see the color blue, like, think of her, that's her trying to interact. Like when you see a bluebird, not necessarily a blue jay, but like the little bluebirds, like she was very specific about what kind of birds. But like those little reminders like that of things that you see. So colors, animal signs. And then she started interacting with the rest of my family. We found out that my uncle's hockey number was 3. So it's like, that was really meaningful for her because she always went to see his games and things like that. So number, messages, colors, animal signs. I mean, the little things like that that just draw your attention are going to be signs from them. And I was lucky enough to actually get the message from her that specified, like, this is what it means. But for the average person starting out, it's going to be, you know, you're going to notice and you're going to be like, why was that so obvious? And that's why.
Yeah, that's a great explanation, Amber. And speaking of numbers that they will give you, there's an awesome book that we both love to reference, and it's called Angel Numbers 101, and it's by Doreen Virtue. It's a tiny little book, but it has numbers 1 through 999. And even if you find that you see like a 6-digit number, you would pair them off by 3s, you know, or however it works. But this book is really cool to reference because, you know, let's say for instance, the number 3 she used, yes, it referenced the hockey jersey number, but it could also mean other things, you know, like for instance, this one is the ascended masters are helping you. Usually this means an ascended master you feel close to, for example, Jesus, Kuan Yin, a saint, or some other spiritual religious figure. So just as an example, that is something you could reference. You know, if you one time I for some reason there was like a random piece of hair like on a desk or something, like hair fell out of my head, blah blah. It was on the desk and I looked at it and it was in the shape of the number 6. I was like, okay, so I'm like, why am my attention was turned to this, you know? So it was random. It wasn't like I just looked at a piece of hair and I'm like, ooh, let's see if this makes a number. No, it was already in the shape of a 6. So I busted out my handy dandy book and I looked it up and it made so much sense to me at that moment. So I do recommend picking up this book if you can. It should be on Amazon, but this is a really great reference to just keep on hand. So just in case you do get those number signs, you're able to get a little bit of a message. And so anyway, let's go back a little bit to dictating your communication. If you are one of those people that get the ringing in your ears and it's annoying, if it's too loud, guess what? You dictate why or how loud things are, what happens to your body. If you don't want spirit to use that method of communication, then you say, please stop ringing in my ear. Please find a different way. Visit me in my dreams instead. Or, show me other signs. But spirit communicates in a very high frequency. So when they try to talk to you, it's going to be very loud and for our human ears. And so especially the higher ascended they are, they're going to have higher frequency. And so you can dictate that. I don't mind it. It doesn't hurt my ears, but some people it can. It can be very, very, very loud. So just remember that. And you get to tell spirit, I want you to communicate with me in these ways. So really whatever you feel comfortable with, that's what you should do. Anything else to add to that before I move on to the next point, Amber?
That was one of the major signs that started me suspecting that I had the ability to communicate with spirit, was all the ringing in my ears. It would be on one side or the other. And slowly I figured out, who was on what side. And I mean, that was the ringing in the ears was like the major cue for me to begin to start talking with spirit.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is really great. So how do you talk to your spirit loved ones is another, people talk to them when they sit in, their home. They might just think it. The thing is, it doesn't matter how you do it. Spirit wants us to talk to them as if they're still here, because they are. Plain and simple. They are still around us every single day. And so when you sit down, when you're getting ready to go to bed, you're laying in bed and you think, boy, grandma, grandpa, I really miss you. And, you know, tell them about your day. You know, just do something like that. And you'd be surprised what you might hear back. And, you know, you can pray for them. You can pray to them, you know, pray about them. You know, we always worship the higher power. You know, you don't pray to anybody else but the higher power. But you want to make sure that you're talking to them. You can sit in a quiet space to start yourself off. You can ask, okay, Dad, what do you have a message for me? And then just clear your mind and wait for a response. And by response, I mean you will hear a thought come across your head or your mind, okay? And it's going to sound like your own thoughts, but here's the difference. It's going to be an effortless thought that comes across your mind. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not some thought that you conjured. It's not, you know, if it's an answer to a question right away, it's from your loved ones. You have to trust it. That's where the self-doubt and trusting your gut comes into play, because a lot of people say, oh, that was just me thinking it. I didn't actually hear my loved ones. But it really is. It really is. And you have to trust that. And of course, you can ask about, you know, your dreams. You can ask them to visit you in your dreams, which a lot of people do like, because they're able to hug their loved ones and see them in person again. And dreams are a really great way for spirit to communicate with us. Amber, do you have something to add about that?
That's actually one of the biggest things that spirit tries to communicate to my clients when I do readings for them, kind of towards the end, saying, you know, they really desire that two-way communication, because every day they're trying to interact with them and, you know, give them those signs and symbols of, you know, I'm still here, I still love you, you know, the color blue, the blue jays, things like that. But people kind of tend to ignore them, and then they just think to themselves like, oh, I kind of miss this person. But once you start, you know, before you go to bed at night, just say, you know, I really missed you today. I love you. If you could interact with me in my dreams, and, you know, give them that two-way communication. You don't have to wait for them to give you the symbols that you're going to recognize necessarily. You can initiate that and start that off. And a lot of times what people don't know is the spirits have already been trying to communicate with them, and they're just like waiting for that response back. And that's one of the most common messages actually that I get during my readings, is they desire that two-way communication with their loved one instead of necessarily going through me.
You're right.
Understandably, like,
yeah,
it's so much better to communicate with your own loved ones than having to talk to me all the time. But, you know, so the two-way communication is so important, and that is something that, you know, you as a person have to work towards. So.
Well, and it's really important to know that. It's a great point, Amber, that you bring up, because everybody, not just Amber and I, who are mediums and other mediums around the world, not just us, everybody in this entire world has this ability. You just have to open your mind to it and allow it to happen. You want to protect yourself. Yes, you don't want spirit to come through that shouldn't be there to talk to you. And we're going to talk about that next. But you can be open to it, and you can hear from them. That's exactly what Amber said, is you want to be able to take home your spirit loved ones and be able to talk to them anytime, not just when you have an appointment with us. So it's really cool to know that you have that ability too. Ghosts versus spirit loved ones. Okay, we just passed Halloween, where all the haunted houses and all these things, all these, you know, places that you can go and tour, haunted mansions and things like that. You know, there is a very big difference between going ghost hunting and visiting and talking with your spirit loved ones. Amber, talk to us a little bit more about ghost hunting.
Okay, this is a topic of extreme passion for me. When I was younger, I used to watch like Ghost Adventures and all those ghost hunting shows because I was interested in like spiritual aspect, but it still felt so wrong and hurtful for me. And the things that they would do to these spirits, and I feel so bad for them. When you go ghost hunting to find random entities, it's traumatic for both parties. It really is. The spirit that's trapped there, they don't want to be there. They want to move on, but there's something, whether it's a demon or another spirit, or, you know, there's something that's holding them there. And when you go in and you start torturing and forcing those spirits to interact with you, I mean, it's so hard on them and it's hard on you. And really, you're just trapping those entities there as well. So I'm very much against the ghost hunting and things like that, because, you know, those people aren't supposed to be there, those or somebody's loved ones. And, you know, you wouldn't want that done to your grandfather or your mother. You know, you don't want that done to your own spirit when you pass. So don't do it to other spirits. They're people too.
They are people too.
They are. One show that I really liked is called The Dead Files.
Oh yeah.
Amy Allen. She is so good, and she is so against, you know, actually going ghost hunting. And yes, that's what it appears to be on the outside, is that she's going into these houses and like interacting with these spirits just like a ghost hunter would. But at the end, she offers up solutions to help these spirits move on. And I mean, she's even taken some home with her to help. I mean, she did a very good job. And to me, that was kind of the switch that was like, ghost hunting is so bad. And that's what I felt like in the past. And now she kind of brought me to this epiphany of, I need to help these spirits. And my way of doing that was doing the spirit communication with loved ones and helping them heal. Because when you and I do a spirit communication session for clients, even for ourselves, we're helping our client heal and we're helping the spirit on the other side heal. We're transferring those messages, that way both of us can move on. Not necessarily that all communication is going to stop after the healing is stopped.
Right.
You know, you do what you need to do, but it's a healing thing as opposed to trauma with dealing with random ghosts.
Right.
So very passionate topic for me.
Right. And to add to that, these spirits that are trapped essentially in these places, in these haunted places, they're trapped for a reason. They have unfinished business. They have things that they're going through, and sometimes they're not pleasant. They are not pleasant spirit. When Amber and I work, when we set up channels, we always set a precedence before the session begins that only spirit that walk in God's white light are allowed to be in our circle. Nobody else. So when you go to a haunted place like that, you are opening yourself up to any kind of spirit that is low energy, spirit that is evil, spirit that, you know, maybe is in between the higher ascended and the low energy. But you just never know what you're going to find, and spirit can get bored. And especially if they're low energy, they're going to be mischievous and they're going to want to mess with you. So that brings us to our next point of Ouija boards. This is not, I know, this is not like red flag, like, you know, big
It's
sirens.
so bad.
It's so bad. Do not use Ouija boards to communicate with your family. Please.
And never burn them.
Never burn them. Don't even buy them. Don't buy them. Don't do it. Okay. And why? Okay. We're very passionate about this, and because we can speak from experience. There was a time many years ago, my friend and I were curious, just like, I mean, I've been curious about ghosts since I was little. I've always wanted, just like Amber said, I've always watched the shows, movies and stuff. I've always been intrigued by it. It's because I was destined to do this eventually. Okay. But I've learned my lesson. And luckily, nothing bad happened to me by using a Ouija board a long time ago, but it was still a lesson that I learned, and it has stayed with me. So my friend and I actually made a Ouija board out of just computer paper. She marked all the letters on the paper, and she cut out a little cursor so that we could use it. It doesn't matter if you have one from one of those game companies or if you make one yourself, it will work because you're inviting spirit to use the energy that you're putting into that board. Okay. Now I'm not trying to teach you to go out and make your own Ouija board. Okay. Please don't mistake in that. But I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter. Spirit will find a way to communicate with you. So because I was naive, I was a teenager, I was doing this, and I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I was talking to my grandfather. I was like, hey, Grandpa, tell me about the food that you and I used to share. And it started to spell out chocolate. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mind was blown. I'm like, I'm really talking to my grandpa. I'm like, well, now, Sarah, okay. I'm like, no way. Because spirit can read your mind. spirit can know exactly what you're thinking. So they are going to play to whatever you are asking, especially if they are mischievous and they are low energy. So I did find out later on while I was doing this Ouija board experience that it was not my grandfather, because guess what happened next? So we asked, is there anything we can do to help you? Like these teenage girls are going to do anything, right? So we asked this, and the word that they spelled out was moan, M-O-A-N, moan. And I'm like, we're done. We're done with this. This is turning to be very weird. I know this is not my grandfather. This is just a low energy spirit trying to use our energy and get a rise out of us. So spirit can trick you. Low energy spirit can trick you. They're going to mess with you because they are not highly ascended. They're not in the best of places on the spiritual plane. So they're going to do what they can to entertain themselves, and you are going to be the butt end of the joke. So just keep that in mind, that Ouija boards are very dangerous, because you can invite evil and low energy spirits into your home, into your space, and that is never good. Amber, anything to add to that?
I have always been terrified of Ouija boards. I just have like these innate fears of things for what seems like no reason, but then eventually I learned like there's totally a reason for that. But I do remember one point when I was, dating my husband at the time, I was maybe like 19 or so. We were like hanging out downstairs, and his sister still lived at home. She was upstairs with her friends, and that night I just started feeling like really sick, and I was having headaches, and I was like, oh, I need to go home. Well, I walked upstairs, and they were like coming out of their room, and they're like, oh my God. Turns out they'd been using a Ouija board, and they were like asking the worst questions, like, when am I gonna die? Am I gonna be in a car crash? And I'm just like, you guys are so stupid. Like, A, you made me sick. Like, self-preservation's kicking in. B, what the heck did you like attract into this house asking questions like that? I was so irate and just like, I mean, that was a terrible night for me. I was like, I can't believe I was just in a house where people were using a Ouija board. Am I going to be cursed? Like, that's what 19-year-old me was thinking. But, I mean, Ouija boards are bad, man.
They're very bad. They're very bad. And so let's talk about the difference between knowing, how do you tell the difference between knowing a low energy spirit or evil spirit is talking to you versus your loved ones? Because they can, like we just displayed, that they can, manipulate you. They can make you think that you're talking to your loved ones, but you're really not. So aside from using Ouija boards, because we're not going to talk about that anymore because that's not a valid way to speak to them.
Right.
If you hear or feel guidance from your loved ones, it's only going to be for your very best. So they only hold the highest good of all concern within themselves. They only want the best for you, and all of their advice, all of their guidance is only to help you heal, be successful, and be your healthiest, best self. Okay, so any advice that steers you up towards a different direction, like you should cheat on that test, or you should go talk to that guy over there even though you're married, or anything like that, that can be guidance from a mischievous spirit, a low energy spirit. And you're going to notice that if it's not said in love, in pure love to you, or the feelings you get, the gut feelings, or the messages that come across your head, the thoughts, feelings, then it is not of pure love. Okay, if it doesn't feel like that, it is not a spirit you want to interact with. There are lots of negative spirits out there that are going to try to get at you. They're going to try to mess with you. They're going to try to scare you because they're lonely and they don't get to experience the white light. So they want to bring everyone down to their level. So they're going to do what they can to really mess with you and really make your life miserable. When something bad happens to you, let's say you don't get a promotion at work and somebody else did. Are you going to be jealous? Are you going to be angry? Or are you going to be, okay, I know it sucks, but I'm going to be happy for this person because they might have deserved it, but I know that something better is waiting for me. It's how you react, okay? But this negative spirit is going to want to bring you down. They're going to keep you in that jealous circle and that negative thought, okay? They're going to want to keep you down there. Your loved ones are going to try to lift you up and remind you that there's something better waiting for you. Amber, anything to add to that?
I totally agree 100%. I mean, it's really that straightforward. You know, the good spirits are the ones who want to help you heal and grow, and the negative entities are there to kind of destroy you.
Yes, absolutely. Well put. So that is just kind of a synopsis. There's so much more to talk about with this particular topic. And if any of you have questions, please drop a comment below and let us know if you want to know more. We also do medium readings all the time. So spiritualtides.com, amberandamethyst.com. Please visit our websites. Let us know. Contact us if you want a medium reading, if you want to get in touch with your loved ones. We can sit down one-on-one with you to let you know healing messages so that you can just feel that love around you with your loved ones again. And also we can help teach you a little bit more about hearing and speaking to your spirit loved ones. Amber, anything else to add?
Yep, we do the one-on-one mentoring if you want to grow your own abilities. Even if you don't live anywhere near us, we can still do like digital reading where we'd send a recording, or we could do like a video chat, kind of like Sarah and I are doing right now. So you can still get that reading without having to necessarily be with us.
Right, well put. So thank you so much for joining us today. Drop a like. If you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe, and we will see you all next time. Thanks so much.